Hey. Only 20 minutes late, which is only 6 minutes later than I said I'd be late. And I can only apologise. My timekeeping skills are terrible. But welcome back to Gothic Along, where we are reading all of the books by Silvia and Garcia. This week, or this month, we read Untamed Shore. It feels like I read this 100 years ago, because I actually read this 5 weeks ago. Really enjoyed it though, but we'll break up the live into spoilers and non-spoilers. Joining me, obviously, is Ali. So we haven't done a live show together in ages.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while. How are you, Ali? What have you been up to?
Nothing new.
Nothing new?
Nothing.
Just kids, cats, and dogs. In fact, I can see a cat behind you.
Yeah, that's Gray Boy. You can tell because he's licked all of his fur off.
Mm-hmm. Oh, poor baby.
No, he just likes it that way.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's not stressed. He's not sick. He's not anything. He just, when it started coming in really thick in the winter, he just didn't want it. And now he just is like, this is how I want it to be.
I want to be naked from the waist down. Why is he basically just like a toddler boy? Like they hate having clothes on. So
yeah, I'm very aware.
I know you are. That's why I use that analogy. Hey Pixie, good to see you. Hey Ellen and Susie, the whole gang's here. Okay, let's start with the non-spoiler discussion. For those of you who didn't get to it in time or did get to it but barely remember it, this follows a young woman named Vividiana who has basically been stuck in the same like coastal town her entire life. She's looking for a little bit of excitement, and a lot of excitement turns up in the form of 3 tourists who basically pay her to be a translator, and then twisty things happen. I gave it 4 stars in the end. I mean, the writing style in this I thought was deeply insidious from the start. It was very tame, it was gentle insidious, but it was insidious, which I really enjoyed. The characters were all terrible. They were all awful people. So I loved that. And I just thought, actually, considering I really didn't enjoy Silver Nitrate and Gods of Jade and Shadow was a good time, I was really glad to get something that felt more like a thriller, like actually had those like thriller vibes. Although I said noir because that is how Silvia Garcia has directed it on their Goodreads. It's described as a noir, not a thriller.
That makes sense. I gave it 4 stars also. It just, there's just like a little bit that just kept it from being a 5, where I was just like, I just wish, like, in the end I was like, I wanted a little more oomph. Just a bit more. Just
a smidgen. I feel like it either needed a bit more oomph or it needed to be 70 pages shorter.
Yeah.
I feel like it needed one or the other. We can have this really decadent pacing less, because then things would happen quicker regardless. And it did. You're right. For me, it was the same. It didn't quite get the 5 stars that I was kind of hoping it would, but it still got a 4 stars. Like it was.
Still I mean, it was still a good read, and I enjoyed it. I just at the end, I was like, I mean, I guess I liked the end. I just feel like I can tell that this is one of her earlier ones in the fact that she doesn't quite have her style down yet.
Yeah, it has the Gothic vibes. It's also really interesting because where this is one of her earlier ones, you can see where she's like got her isms already. Because you've already got like the deeply religious trauma. You've already got the men are all dickheads, but I'm weirdly attracted to them anyway. You've already got that kind of spirituality, sinister nature. There's all those things that she does in all of her books there already. It just doesn't have the kick in the teeth that like Mexican Gothic does, for example, which I've actively not read yet in lieu of like the live show, because I didn't want to shadow talking about this one with how much I love that one, which I've done already with the others, but yeah. I came into I want to be naked from the waist down. Sorry, we're all just we're at that classic Zoom nation now where we just wear clothes up here. Speaking of which, actually, this is a t-shirt that my sister-in-law got me for my birthday. It's a tarot reader t-shirt that has a cat knocking over a tea.
That is the best shirt I've ever seen.
Right? And it was in the Musen purchase. So you could have one too. Should you so wish. But I just thought anyway, back to this. Ellen also gave it 4 stars. Pixie gave it 3 stars in the end. Yeah, it wasn't entirely your vibe. That's fair. Can you say what it was that meant that it wasn't your vibe? I want your thoughts.
I can see a lot of people not liking this. I can definitely see why it took her a little bit to kind of blow up as the author she is now.
Yeah.
Silvia
Moreno Garcia likes to start out slow, but I'm not the biggest fan of that. But I respect her consistency. I think the thing is that's a real Gothic thing, and I think it's why some people really, really love her writing, and why some people don't. Is I think because it's not quite horror, it's not quite thriller. It is slow burn because that is true Gothic, and even though they're modern and they're written recently, I think this one's set in like the 70s or 90s or something like that. When is this one set? 1979. So I feel like it's modern, but it still has that like classic Gothic slow burn vibe. Like you read, I'm planning on rereading Dracula. That's one of the fastest paced Gothics. A lot of the others tend not to be. They tend to be a lot more kind of slow burn. Is it a ghost or is it in your head kind of vibe? And it just does take a lot longer, I think. I'm glad you like my t-shirt. The romance annoyed me. We will get to that in the spoiler discussion. Yeah. I'm going to put a pin in that one. Let's save that one for later. I don't think I can say more until spoilers. I say that like I even remember the guy's name. You know what? Hard same. I don't remember the guy's name either. We'll get there. So it wasn't my vibe because it's coming of age, but still adult. Okay, it felt like YA saying, fuck, I'm still a little sated. Yeah, that's fair. It's really interesting because what am I reading at the moment? I was reading something recently. Oh, it's Camp Damascus. Because that's the same. That reads like a YA. It has the pacing of a YA. And like at one point she's talking about how like this is the last summer before everyone goes off to college kind of thing, or like people are going back to college. It's the end of summer, or it's the beginning of summer and everyone's come back from college or whatever. I can't remember what time of year it is anyway. But she then goes home and she's like, for a 20-year-old, I have a lot of free time for like my parents give me a lot of freedoms considering I'm 20. And I'm like, I thought you were 14. Like the way you're talking about how you're hanging out with your friends, and like don't get me wrong, like I'm 32 and I would absolutely still go to hang out like that, like for sure. Especially if everyone was my own age, like we'd have a great time. But just the way it's written, I was like, oh, I thought you were like 18 because this is targeted to 16 to 18-year-olds. But it's not. She's a 20-year-old. And that's wild to me because of how controlling her family is. And that's also tied into religious stuff. So I feel like what both, whatever his name, Tingle and Silvia Moreno Garcia have to say about religious trauma is that when you're traumatized by an overly religious family, and I do mean traumatized and not just like, okay, I'm religious, I'm Christian, whatever, this is my family's way, but like traumatized by it, it stunts you emotionally. That's what I'm getting from that. And I feel like, I hope Garcia knows that she can go to therapy if she feels traumatized by religion too. It's available to her. She's got money now, because you think like her response in Gods of Dread and Shadow, where she's like, I was told my entire life there was one true God, and turns out there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all assholes. And it's like, yeah, it's like there's other perspectives out there. There's other gods out there. If you want to go and praise one of them, you can. I think it's really interesting. Did you pick up on that on like religious trauma, or have I like? What do you think?
I mean, I'm just struggling to say anything non-spoilery.
Okay. We'll speed through and then we'll get to spoilers. That's fine. 3 stars. I love her slow pace, but apparently not here. Didn't like the romance either. Perhaps listening to the audiobook had a negative effect. Interesting, because I also listened to the audiobook alongside it. So that's interesting. Pixie, I agree. It felt a different language, but not quite a different tone. Interesting. People are agreeing with you, Pixie. Didn't work for them either, which is really interesting to me because we all disagree. Well, we all agreed on what we didn't like about Silver Nitrate. Like we were all on the same page for Silver Nitrate, and now I feel like I'm like, I had a good time, and you guys are like, it was fine. Like Hannah, chill your roll. It was okay. Not relevant, but I'm getting off the bus and hoping my landlord will not want to speak to me when I get through the door. I hope that for you too. If you can hear all the buzzing, it's because Olivia is texting me, which means you'll get another. There it is. There's another one. I knew there'd be another one. Oh, there's 3 images come through, which means Olivia's unhauling something, and she just wants to let me know what it is. Yes, language versus tone is on point. I also listen to the audio. Cool. Right, in which case, let's go to the spoiler discussion. Let's be honest, we've got stuff to say. I'm glad. Okay, where's that comment that I say from earlier? The romance. Now, this is interesting because it's almost a love triangle without Silvia Garcia actually ever committing to calling it a love triangle. She never actually explicitly says, Vividiana has these options. What I really thought was interesting is that the ex-boyfriend is such an ominous threat. At no point is he like a potential romantic entanglement. Let's drag these guys. Let's drag them. He's just nasty. And it makes me wonder like how no one else saw that. But then no one else sees how the other guys work either. So do you think she should have been as invested with the guy from the big house as she was? I'm going to find his name whilst you answer because I can't remember what it was.
His name is Gregory.
Thank you. Except it wasn't his real name, was it? It was like
but we never know his real name.
Okay, we'll call him Gregory. That's fine.
Yeah,
Gregory and Daisy.
I think that's part of what I think made this book not quite a 5-star for me is Garcia doesn't ever like commit to kind of settling on the fact that like this is totally grooming. And in the end, I was just kind of, I think, expecting a little more of Viridiana just being like, you know, like understanding what happened, but instead I don't know. I think that kind of bugged me that like we just didn't really talk about the grooming happening. She's so young. Like she is basically a child. And this is like an almost 30-year-old man.
Yeah, he's like, and the thing is, like, it is grooming. Like, you're so spot on because for me, it was when it was like the sexually explicit stuff. Because okay, I want to like talk about it in reference to this, right? SMG loves to make me want to tear my hair out with these naive heroines being fucked over by fuckboys, and I just have to sit there and watch the train wreck. Again, that's very classic Gothic, but with that modern twist of without the kind of like gentlemanly etiquette or the threat to him. Because the key difference between like traditional Gothic and these modern Gothics is Gregory is never going to get in trouble for what he's doing.
No.
He is never going to get called out for that shit. Because the only people that could protect Vividiana won't. Her mother will only assume that she's a prostitute. It's why she won't tell anyone that like she's doing these things. She can't talk to her pharmacist about getting contraception because he'll tell her mum. She can't talk to her priest because he'll tell her mum. She can't tell her mum because she knows how her mum will react. She knows she can't tell Daisy because Daisy's in on it. And Ambrose at this point is dead. So she's only got Gregory. Gregory has got her in such a powerful position that he can coerce her and there's nothing she can do about it. And the whole time she thinks she wants this. She wants, like, he makes her feel just good enough that it's almost like, it kind of like reminds me of almost like an addiction. Like he makes her feel just good enough that she commits to keep going back even when it's not good. Like there's times when he like forces her. Sorry if this is triggering. If this is triggering, I'm really sorry. When he forces her to do stuff like the blowjob and stuff like that, that was visceral. Like her reaction to that is, I don't want this, but I want Gregory, so I guess I'll do it. And the idea that he's like we don't have to have sex if you don't want to lose your virginity to me, but there's other things we can do.
Yeah.
And if you loved me, you'd have sex. Like, it's so manipulative. It's so insidious. And I think that's why when I talk about it being gently insidious, that's what I mean, is it's those microaggressions, those micro misogyny moments, those micro manipulative moments that if you're in that moment, you would rationalize it. You could rationalize it. You shouldn't. And as a reader, you're sat there going, just say no. Like, just say no, please. Because it's not that she hasn't got the capacity to. She has an ex-boyfriend that she said no to, that they like fooled around and stuff. But she was never prepared to do more because she wasn't that into him. But Gregory, it's not even necessarily that she likes Gregory, it's that he offers a chance to escape this place. And Vividiana, that's not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough. You can translate many languages. You can find a job. You'll be fine.
Yeah, but she's just... I think it just bothers me because she's so young. Like, I'm like, you were basically a child. Please, somebody help the child.
Yeah. I did appreciate that she didn't even entertain the ex. It was really interesting to me, the scene where her ex, like, comes and shouts at her because she... Or I don't know if it's her ex or if it's just someone that her ex knows, comes and shouts at her because she's taken money away from him. And, like, the other guy's just like, get wrecked. Like, it's fine kind of thing. Because again, I think there's that low-lying threat of violence that is just a daily life struggle for her. It's very similar. There's a chapter or so in The Poet's Ex by Elizabeth Acevedo where men start making comments at the main character, and also in Clap When You Land, where I wonder to what extent, especially in Latin, like, because obviously it's everywhere, but to the extent in Latinx communities, which Silvia Garcia is as well, it's so prevalent. Sorry, the light has just gone.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, okay. The light's just gone because Lizzie's gone to the bathroom, and because it's rained recently, the fuse is blown. You're fine. I put the lamp on in front of me, so I don't actually need the light. I'm going to turn the light off because I don't need it.
Thanks, Dad.
There we go. I'll leave it off. It's fine. That's actually considerably brighter than I thought it was going to be, to be fair. But yeah, so I do wonder to what extent, because it's mentioned a lot in Silvia Garcia's books, the kind of threat of male violence in all of its forms, sexual and just kind of aggressive. But yeah, so kind of interesting. I mean, she shouldn't have, but she's like 18. She's entitled to be a prostitute. I thought she was like 20. Is she not older than that? I thought she was like...
she's 19.
Maybe. Again, I read this a while ago. So maybe she is. You're allowed to be a besotted idiot at that age. I think it makes sense that she herself didn't realize it was grooming, for sure. I definitely agree it would have been nice to have it acknowledged, but I don't know how it would have been done. I feel like Rainier was set up to be that character. To be that one that's like, I'm looking out for her. I'm the father figure she doesn't have. I'll keep an eye. And then he just doesn't, because he just never comes round.
Yeah.
Oh, who's having a tantrum?
Oh, it's just Winnie.
She's like, my namesake's hanging out. I want to be there. Like, in a way that was consistent with world-building characters, yeah, for sure. I hate Gregory as a character, obviously not as a plot point, because it was horribly... It's very authentic. Thank you. We're just telling everyone how bad men are.
Oh, men suck. Men are the worst.
Zach agrees. Just say hi to everyone.
Okay.
Come say hi. Just like...
Right, I'm good. I'm much more to go. So.
Okay, see you later.
Love you.
Men are the worst. That's what I was just saying.
You won't receive a Tony, but he would agree. He is just not here.
He brought me tea, so he gets bonus points. Anyway, yes.
I
think that's the thing. Go on.
You know that you have a good one when they know men are the worst. If they don't know, then...
Love you too. Still just loitering. But this is the thing. He got into an argument on Facebook or something the other day because someone was like, hashtag not all men, and he was like, buddy, that's not the argument we're having here. Like, that's not what this is about. And I was like, good for you. I do wonder how cultural aspects play as a role as well. Yes, I think the fact that she's in such a rural place as well, because I know I've read and experienced to a certain extent how rural communities close in on themselves and won't acknowledge stuff like that as well. So it does become more prevalent. You live in a Gothic house. I do. It's spooky. But I really like that. That was something that I really enjoyed. But this is the thing. I think it's really interesting because there's actually, and I'm saying this literally as I consider it, there's a lot of internalized misogyny in Vividiana. More so than other characters that we've seen from Silvia Garcia, because she's almost exclusively spends her time with men. And the women in her life, she separates into mothers and martyrs and prostitutes, essentially. Because she compares constantly Daisy and her mother. Whether consciously or subconsciously, she is always making those the distinctions between the two. And her mother, who is or had quite a kind of colourful background, but now lives a very pious adulthood of raising her kids and being saintly, etc., and going to church, versus Daisy, who didn't do that, who doesn't have kids, doesn't have those same things, and is essentially just a spoiled brat, but in her 40s.
Yeah.
Is really that's it. That's all she's got. And it's really interesting, kind of like the internalized misogyny where she doesn't have female friends. Like, I don't understand her not having male friends. I don't understand her losing friends if they were like on the side of the ex, who we were all like is the worst. I just watched Henry just go, just like dead, you know. Classic Hannah trait that. Yeah, but it was that kind of like, why don't you have any female friends? Why don't you have anyone that you can confide in? And maybe it's just a plot thing, right? Maybe well, think about it.
I'm pretty sure she just sees everyone in this town as, in a way, like beneath her, because she wants out and they don't, and anybody who would choose that kind of life to her is just like wrong.
Just weird and wrong. Just wouldn't do it.
No. Yeah. She's like, why would you want to be this way? I don't.
It could never be me.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. I forgot you. Forgot him. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. He disappear in the second half of the book. Yeah.
He's almost there just to kind of introduce them, give them his car, and then disappear.
Yeah.
That's the purpose that he serves. But like the whole time, like she references him a lot. But she doesn't go and see him. She doesn't do anything about that. But it's like she'll go to his house or something and it'll be really late. So now she like can't get home because it's too dark and stuff like that. Like there are a lot of low-lying, insidious threats. And I liked that. It reminded that kind of like low-level insidious threats, but nothing happens vibe is very similar to Catherine House. But Catherine House has more decadent writing, a more like messed up main character, and a lot more kind of going on in the periphery. Whereas this one, obviously, it all kicks off when Ambrose dies. Now, that felt very Agatha Christie to me. The moment it was, he's drunk and he fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
Diana's like, he doesn't drink. Like, she's put two and two together, even if she's not acknowledging it to herself. Like, she knows. And therefore, the audience knows. And then it's a case of, like, she's putting the other puzzle pieces together. But what a reluctant investigator. That's probably where it lost its 5th star. Because I really dislike when a main character is essentially your only means of finding new information. They don't want to. Now, in this instance, she doesn't want to because she doesn't want to poke the bear. She doesn't want to risk upsetting Gregory. So even though she's interested, even though she's intrigued, and she does her little bit of research, and she finds out that he's part of like this gang, and she lets them know where he is, and like by accident or on purpose or whatever, and like manipulates that whole situation, she doesn't actually ever really engage with the motive or helping. She lies to the police and doesn't even really like bat an eye when it first happens. And then she thinks about it later and goes, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have. So I was waiting for you to say something. You said yeah. I thought you were going to say something else. Then you just
I don't.
Yeah.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. You're not wrong. It's all right. I've got plenty for both of us. When people started dying was when I liked the book. Same.
Yeah, it's just so much. Just shows that I don't know if she is 19, if she's 20, she very much is stunted. Yeah. Yep. In the fact that she seems more like a 16-year-old. In the fact that she does all these dumb freaking things, and you're like, please, can you take 2 seconds? Like, I love you. You're great, Verdiana. I like her like personality in general, but I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god, please.
Like, as a character, she's quite interesting. And what I really like is it's really clear to me who, from reading a variety of books and probably also reading them back to back, I feel like I'm getting a really good idea of who Silvia Moreno Garcia is. Because it's impossible as an author not to put just a little sprinkling of yourself in every character. And whether it's just your banter that you wish you had, or a hobby that you have, or like an interest you have. The fact that Vividiana is obsessed with films to the point that she starts talking about what it would take to make them, and even references the silver nitrate that goes into specific editions of film. And I was like, there it is. Like, there's the special interest. Like, that is Silvia Moreno Garcia. Those things, the film posters, like, I absolutely believe she is describing her own bedroom. Like, she is describing the room she wishes she had. I feel like that's all very her. And I feel like we're going to start to see that again in the other ones, especially like Signal to Noise. And I think we probably will in Mexican Gothic as well. Less so in the beautiful ones, because it's set in such a etiquette-heavy, historical vibe setting. But really, really interesting to see that Vividiana, especially because it's one of the first ones, is probably the closest to who SMG actually is in those interests. Not in being manipulated by men, not in like swooning over actual killers, but just in her interests and her fascinations and her intrigues. Because I feel like Vividiana would be such a massive Gothic fiction fan. Like, she'd be intrigued by that shit. Her fascination with sharks borderlines tism.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not being funny. The last book I read where someone was that obsessed with sharks, it was A Kind of Spark.
Yeah.
They love a shark. Well, what can I say?
It's kind of off of that. What the sharks thing, I think that is another reason that it wasn't a 4, or it wasn't a 4.5 or a 5, is there were these moments where it seemed like she was going to do something almost a little like magical realism or something. But I don't know, like, nothing came of the sharks. I don't know. I wanted something to kind of tie it together in like some kind of metaphor or something, because there were these moments where it seemed like that was going to happen, and then it didn't.
I guess if you were going to like analyze it critically, the metaphor is that there are sharks in the water, right? But the idea is that there are worse things at sea than sharks, because like Daisy straight up admits that she was going to kill Ambrose by letting him be dragged out to sea. Like, that's dangerous. And I think Vividiana has a fascination with sharks. She knows they're dangerous. She knows there's more dangerous things. And I guess it does, to a certain extent, foreshadow that whilst Daisy might be a killer, whilst Gregory is a con man and a liar, they work for something bigger. There is a bigger fish, and it's going to come. And the fact that this other guy rocks up and lets her go because she informed on them, and basically says, forget fucking everything, because if you don't, I'll kill you too. And we've been watching you, and we know your family. Don't fuck with us. He is that deeper water threat. He is not a shark. He's the riptide. So I think that if you're going to get really hypercritical and analytical about it, that's the point. But again, it's so under the surface, which again is kind of a metaphor because it's all set by the sea. So it's just layer upon layer upon layer. Like genuinely, like if I was to go back and do another master's, and I am really tempted, I'm really tempted to write a non-fiction book critically analysing Latinx Gothic, starting with Silvia Garcia and looking at other authors as well, because there is so much there. There is so much there, but you have to sit and like, it's not something you would ever sit and digest as a casual reader or as a book clubber. It would be the fact that I'm like, I'm a fucking nerd who loves to look at shit like that and analyze it to within an inch of its life. And almost guaranteed, I would go to SMG themselves and be like, hey, does this metaphor mean this? And she'd be like, what metaphor? It's a shark.
Yeah, she'd be like,
no!
I was just going for vibes, and sharks were really vibey. I don't know what to tell you.
Sharks are a vibe, to be fair.
So I feel like that's a lot of art, though, is the artist is like, I was just doing a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that classic meme where it's like the English teacher, or the poet wrote the curtains were blue, and the English teacher said what they mean is that outside the world is melancholy, and the artist goes, no, it's that the curtains were blue.
I was just, they were just doing a thing.
To be fair, like it's really common for people to, obviously, because you're never reading in a vacuum, and I always say this, you're never reading in a vacuum, you're always putting your own experiences on. So I wrote obviously my short story Freak Like Me, which is loosely based on the idea of like demons or daemons from Philip Pullman, of having these creatures that represent your personality or your soul that just are with you constantly.
You can't have my microphone, baby.
It's like, I want it. But I had someone leave a Goodreads review and an Amazon review basically saying that they really liked how it was an analogy for being LGBT and how certain things are just not accepted and people like make these assumptions. And I was like, great, that was never my intention. My intention was never to be like, don't worry guys, I'm an ally, I've got this. Like, that was never my intention. But it's so wonderful and so gratifying when people take that from your writing. So it's really interesting. So it might be interesting. I'd be really interested in anyone watching if you saw hidden metaphors or foreshadowing that we've not mentioned, that you were like, I knew this meant this. Because those clues, to me, are a sign of really good writing. And when people have different opinions, really, really good writing. So I guess it makes sense. She thinks she's better than everyone else because she's very book smart, but she's not other smart. Yes, she's intelligent, not wise. In D&D, you have intelligence and wisdom are two different things that you roll for. Intelligence is book smart. And I always my dad always says, intelligence is knowing tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a smoothie. Like, it's that idea that like the difference between practical knowledge and like book knowledge. I'm book smart. I walk into shit all the time. I make terrible life choices all the time. But I've got big words in my vocabulary, so it's better than nothing, you know?
I am neither smart.
Oh, as if I text Ali because I was worried about one of the cats, and Ali came back with like, here's what you need to do. Bum, 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 bum. You, like, if you can get your hands on this, if you need to do that, keep an eye on this. Ali knows their shit. So when it comes to raising a family and looking after 1,000 pets, Ali's got their shit together. I would panic. Horatio dislocated his shoulder 2 weeks after I got him as a kitten, and all he did was hyperextend it. He's fine. I got the vet. I paid £500 for an X-ray for the vet to be like, he's fine. So don't trust me with adult decisions. Can't be trusted.
Well, now you just messaged me, and I go, I have a weird amount of veterinary knowledge.
There you go. That's practical knowledge. That's wisdom as far as I'm concerned. I love how stupid and smart she is.
Very teenager, yeah.
Well, this is the thing. Again, like, I'm just going to keep quoting my dad because my dad's hilarious. But he said that when he first started his business, his previous employer said, make sure that you hire young people whilst they know everything. And I was like, I love that, because I feel like there are so many young people that are like, oh, I've got this. Like, I fucking know everything. And then the older you get, the more you're like, I didn't know what I was doing, and I still don't, you know? And I think that's the thing. It is very typical of young people to have this kind of bravado and this false sense of security that they know what they're doing, which is probably a good thing, because it means they're more likely to take risks and actually learn stuff. The film thing was annoying. Oh, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy the film thing. I think it's really fascinating because it's the only thing she has that's like related to her dad.
Mm-hmm.
That and the fact that neither of them wanted to be in that town ever again. Like,
yeah.
The many film references made it YA for me. That's fair. That's fair. Is that something falling over, Ali?
Oh, it's just the children playing in the other room.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I know this isn't how humans work, but I feel like most books have only space for one thing. Yes, I think it's really interesting because I met up with Kelly earlier this week, or last week even, to talk about the characters in my book. Because in the Survival Guide series, they all have one hobby specifically. I want it to be their thing. And obviously with Reverie, it's her makeup. And yes, she like hangs out with her friends and she does other stuff, but like her thing is the makeup. And in the next Survival Guide thing, her thing is being a collector. She likes to like hoard things, but in a very specific way. And I was like, I don't want her to have loads of stuff. She will have other hobbies because it's also going to look at her life over a longer period of time. But I think it's very easy for writers to be like, here is their identifying hobby. They are blonde, brunettes, they're blue-eyed, they've got freckles, but also this is their hobby. And it's like that almost like checkpoint of, I've made them three-dimensional because they have a hobby now. Like, I think that
they do one thing.
Yeah. Films or sharks, not both. I love that. Oh, thank you. I don't know what it was that I said that caused that, but thank you. I love that. It can be both. Your subconscious does shit when you create. It does. And that is deep. That is deep. We love to see it. Okay, cool. So I'm trying to think. We've talked about Vividiana quite a bit. What was your thoughts on the kind of femme fatale nature of Daisy?
Huh?
What was your thoughts on the femme fatale nature of Daisy?
I mean, I didn't like Daisy, so she's a very poor femme fatale.
Well, what's really interesting to me is the setup is very, very similar to The Great Gatsby in the fact that you've got rich husband who treats Daisy like shit, but then she's got a male friend who looks after her.
Well, it's also, once I got to the end, I realized how poor of a or not poor, how unreliable of a narrator Vividiana really is. Because you look back and it's like, Ambrose, yeah, he was a grumpy dude, but I don't know if she was just seeing it as more abusive towards Daisy because that's what she wanted the situation to be, because her first impression of Ambrose was she didn't really like him and she refused to kind of stray from that.
Because she wanted Daisy to like her.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where like she didn't like Daisy, but she wanted Daisy to like her. You know, when Daisy didn't offer to take her shopping or didn't lend her makeup or didn't want her going to things, then she had an issue. But she wanted Daisy to like her, even though she was so internally misogynistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Daisy's older, cool. Daisy's got it together. Daisy's seen things, you know.
So she's been places.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, so now it's
she's a murderer, so she's technically a femme fatale, even if she's not a great one.
Yeah. She's fine. She can be a femme fatale. I just don't think she makes a very good one.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, is I feel like maybe either SMG or the character herself has named herself Daisy to be this kind of like, I'm this beautiful put upon young woman. Someone take care of me.
Yeah.
My husband is abusive and terrible. Please take care of me. And make sure you've got money, you know? But it's really interesting to me that she is to a certain extent the mastermind in the fact that she is very manipulative of the men around her. And I think, again, that's something that Vividiana wishes she had, consciously or subconsciously, because she's got a stepfather who doesn't respect her. She's got an ex-boyfriend who won't let go. She's got a boyfriend who emotionally and sexually manipulates her. And as far as she can see, Daisy's got it all. Daisy's got it made. And Daisy has this bullshit confidence to just kind of take what she wants. And as much as Vividiana doesn't like her, I think she secretly really wants to be her.
Well, it's also, like, yeah, Daisy is the mastermind, but especially later on when Verdiana finally kind of walks in on Daisy and Gregory having that conversation, and Gregory's like, we can just dump her, whatever. It becomes really obvious to me that Verdiana is super unreliable. Like, her, like, seeing Daisy as the mastermind, it's all from her perspective. And it's like, okay, but then we get that with Gregory, and it's like, he was putting on innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And she just really wanted to believe that.
Yeah.
But they were in it together. He was part of the planning and part of everything. She just didn't want him to be.
Yeah.
She wanted
Which is
him
really
to be...
obvious when he gets shot and is kind of like just left for dead. The fact that he still thinks he can manipulate Vividiana. He's still convinced that he can get out of this. Ever the con man. And the fact that she never finds out what happens to Daisy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that to me screams of they're in this together. Because if it was just Daisy as the masterminds, I feel like he would have got away with more.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, I got the impression that he knew those people just as much as she did. Like, they were both, like, yes, she might have worked out he was a con man and taken him on, but they've been in this together for a long time. Like, he knows what he's doing. And you're right, like, he fully acknowledges that he's manipulating Vividiana. He, like, fully acknowledges it. And then it's a 180. And I think you're right. And I do wonder if her belief or her willful belief that Daisy is the only mastermind, again, is that internalized misogyny. She doesn't want to do nice things of the women around her.
Yeah, it's just, you kind of have to reanalyze everyone after you finish the book, because it's like, was Ambrose really who she thought she was? Is her mother really who she thinks she is?
Yeah.
Like, every person in her life, she has such a warped perspective of the people around her that, especially by the end, I'm like, I don't know who any of these people were. I know who Veridiana thought they were.
Yeah.
But I don't know who any of them actually were.
No, for sure. Yeah, I tripped and fell into that marriage. Yeah, I feel like he's, again, that's part of the manipulation, but it's also a classic narcissist trait to not ever take the blame.
Mm-hmm.
And Gregory is straight up a narcissist. Like, if you look up, like, the diagnoses list, bullet point list, he ticks those boxes. He looks for gratification in Vividiana but doesn't give any. He manipulates her, he puts her down, all to build up his own narrative of him being the hero. Like, the constant talk of, like, we'll go to Paris and we'll do this, and we'll do that. Like, it's not just that he's manipulating her. I do think there is a part of him that fully believed she could have been part of their gang and that he could have his cake and eat it, that he could have Daisy and Vividiana. And Daisy's the one that's like, no, you slept with other women to manipulate them before. I'm chill with that. If you even hint that you love her, she's dead to me. And he's like, no, I don't love her. And it's like, Vividiana's like, that's not what you said to me yesterday when I had your penis in my mouth, but okay. Like, it's that kind of, like, he just constantly puts it on other people. He's putting his problems on Daisy when he's talking to Vividiana, and putting it on Vividiana when he's talking to Daisy, and Ambrose whenever he can. And I can't even remember the nephew's name. What is his name?
Starts with an L.
Does it?
I only know that because I'm pretty sure his first and last name start with an L.
That's next on another one. Lawrence. What a consolation prize, eh? To run off into the distance with Lawrence, who feels like he's... I love the fact that, like, because they fool around, he feels so... what's the... not entrapped. He is trapped by her, but he feels obliged to her.
Mm-hmm.
And although she's like, I know this won't last, but at least he can get me to the city, is like, that's wild. That's so wild. And
well, she's just so desperate at that point because, like, her plans fell apart, and she doesn't. As soon as she again, she's such a teenager in such a weird situation because she does such teenager things where she's like, when she realizes that Gregory isn't it, she's like, but there's this one.
Yes. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I find it's really problematic because it also perpetuates the novel that the abused become the abusers. She was manipulated, now she knows how to manipulate other people. And like the upside of that is that we actually see that developing in the novel, and it's not just a horrible plot twist that she uses Lawrence. There are plenty of instances where she shows capacity for manipulation, whether it's with Gregory, whether it's with Daisy or Rainier or whatever, like these little microaggressions, or when she's like manipulating her mum into thinking one thing when the truth is something else or whatever. So that when it comes to her manipulating Lawrence and the police, it's clearer. And also, I think it's really interesting that she doesn't lie to the police in front of Lawrence, and that seals her as a trustworthy person. The power that gives her, and how quickly that power goes to her head.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she's like, I can manipulate him now because I can manipulate anybody.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh God. Now she's I think that's why I didn't like the ending, is she basically didn't really learn that the situation with Gregory was bad, other than like he was a bad dude. Like she didn't see the situation as a whole and the grooming and anything. She didn't really understand any of that. And then she just goes to Lawrence, who is closer in age to her, not as disturbing. And she's just like, I'm gonna go with him. And it's like, I can just see her getting to the city and just fucking it all up. Because she thinks she has it under control again. And she totally doesn't, because she's still basically a teenager.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's see what other people have had to say. I was about to ask that about the nephew. That's the guy she ends up with, right? Yeah, because that's actually the romance that annoys me. That's fair. Because it's not a romance. It's not even a love story. That is a marriage of convenience. That's all that is. She is manipulating him, and he's allowing her to, because he thinks, I'm a big strong man and I'll be her hero. Big himbo energy.
Yeah.
Big himbo. Not that Greg didn't annoy me. That's fair. I have mixed feelings about the ending. I understand that in spite of everything that has happened, she needs someone to get her out. She can't just leave. I think it would have been more poetic if she had been forced to stay.
Yeah.
If Lawrence was like, this was fun, bye. And then like Manuel just like throws his arm around her like, so. Or that she just learns to stand on her own 2 feet. Something like that.
That's what I really would have liked her to kind of just come to some I wish she would have learned something.
Yeah.
Come to some understanding about herself and the place that she's in and the people around her. But instead, those perceptions aren't really challenged by her in the end.
That's fair. And you know what? It makes me miss the daughter of Dr. Moreau, because they have a very similar situation of nice guy versus not so nice guy. And at the end, she walks off into the sunset with her money. Like, that's it. Like, it's her sister, and her money. Chill, you know? I miss those days. Those were good times. But once I needed... Do you know what? Actually, having said that, for once I needed there to not be a guy at the end. This is a spoiler for Mexican Gothic. Sorry. That's all I'm going to say on that is... Oh, hey, you just crept up behind me. I was expecting Zach to go upstairs. I wasn't expecting you to come upstairs.
Hi.
Did you read the book?
No.
Oh. But you're just upstairs.
No, I'm just saying hello, goodbye. Hello and goodbye.
Hello, goodbye. Thank you. I don't get a kiss from Lizzie. I got a kiss from Zach earlier. You're not gonna... Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye. Good luck. Are you going to audition?
Yes.
They're going to audition, guys. Wish them luck. It will take forever for those comments to come through, but then I'll screenshot it and send it to Lizzie.
I don't need luck. I'm not really auditioning to get a part, so I'm just auditioning to it.
What if you did get a part though?
Well, now I hope that you get the lead against your will.
Right? Right, see you later. Do you know what time we'll be back?
No idea.
Okay.
No clue. None.
See you later.
See you later.
Have fun.
Love you.
Love you too, bye.
I thought he already left.
No, he came upstairs to get his watch earlier, or put his watch on to charge earlier, and to bring me tea. Now they're leaving. Now I'm going to have the whole house to myself. So if the lights go out, pray for me, because it means that it really is haunted and I'm going to die.
You could just befriend the ghost. It's fine.
But what if they're not? What if they don't like me?
Well, then you tell them to fuck off.
But like Ali said, you should fuck off because you're an unfriendly ghost. Yeah. Just for once, if there wasn't a man at the end, unfortunately, not usually the case for Silvia Garcia. Unfortunately, you're going to find the same frustrations with Mexican Gothic. I have complicated feelings on the whole sex as power thing that I can't fully articulate. I think just having complicated feelings is pretty good articulation because it's problematic and it's tricky because it's one of those things that like sex as power in novels. In some novels, is like done as like steamy and like ooh power play fun. I'll be honest, the whole sex as power play thing only really works for me in the Katie Roberts books because they have aftercare.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm fine with it when it's consensual non-consent. When it's actual non-consent, it's not fun anymore.
No. It's like, oh, this is triggering me. I hate that. Yeah. Big time. It's a consistent theme throughout and it's realistic and all that. It makes sense for her character. It just makes me tired. Fair, valid, and reasonable. It's fine. I've already read Mexican Gothic. You're spoiling nothing. To be fair, I feel like Mexican Gothic, I put Mexican Gothic slap bang in the middle on purpose because my thought was if we hated all of the other books, it didn't matter because the light at the end of the tunnel was Mexican Gothic. And I've had a really good time reading the variety of books that Silvia Garcia has put out. She's still an author for me. Like, even after her terrible men and her deep religious trauma, I'm having a great time. I honestly like that Lawrence lets himself be manipulated. Like, he's going to go discover being submissive for real and have a great time of it. He's like, that's fine. You do what you got to do. You tell me where to stand.
He, with all his money, just needs a pretty dominant wife.
Yeah.
Who just does what she's going to do, and he can just sit in the background like, I love that.
She's like, we're going to go traveling. And he's like, yes, mistress.
Okay. He's just like a little puppy dog in the corner.
Yeah. Again, classic himbo energy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ellen. I will let them know that you said that. If I lose more powers because I said that, I regret nothing. You will regret nothing. It's fine. You're cool. If you lost mod powers, I'd give them back because I wouldn't take them from you. Absolutely not. I'm trying to think if there was a Viridian Findom. Yep. Ali, you see my vision. I love the idea that we're like, okay, we're going to go away and write fanfic, and it's exclusively just Vividiana and Lawrence on holiday in different places, with Vividiana just bossing him around, but like in very specific scenarios. I'm here for it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this. I mean, so the actual location was fascinating to me because I feel like I've heard about like Baja and I've heard about like how beautiful it is and the blue coast and stuff like this. Seeing it from the side of someone who's not a tourist, it sounds like the worst place to live.
Most tourist places are not somewhere you want to live.
As someone who grew up in a tourist trap, for sure. Like, Folkestone is a massive tourist trap because it's where a lot of the First World War, like, soldiers went off to France from Folkestone. So there's a lot of memorials around and, like, lots of stuff to do. And also, Dover Castle is 20 minutes down the road, which is where the Second World War tunnels are. So basically a lot of like, Hitler tried to take over this place, but we got there first kind of vibes. So there's a lot of that. And because it's right by the coast, a nice seaside town, tourists fucking everywhere. So I get that. I was honestly hoping for more sharks and water stuff. I wanted them to go to sea. I wanted them to be in a fishing boat. I wanted them to have their
I really wanted something more with that atmosphere, with the sharks in the ocean, to kind of bring the ending together, you know?
Yeah.
Bring that, like, metaphors to a conclusion with the story, rather than we just kind of lost it at the end. Like, we just kind of didn't really talk about the sharks at all. No. When it was such a prevailing theme throughout, that the sharks in the ocean and the atmosphere, but the atmosphere didn't really play into the ending.
No. No, and it was even if they had just kind of gone back down, even if like that final scene where he gets like shot and like the gangsters turn up, if that had taken place in one of the fisheries down and they had like sharks hanging and like teeth everywhere and blood everywhere, and the idea of like not only is there worse things in the sea, but we're literally surrounding you with it, so that as you die as a shark, you are surrounded by dead sharks. That would have been really poetic. It would have also been very on the nose, which is why Silvia and Garcia wrote this and I did not. Yeah, I did enjoy the commentary on what it's like to have rich tourists come and be dicks to you.
I don't think it even needed to be that on the nose. Like, even if that scene would have just taken place like by the ocean and we just got some description of like turmoil in the water while this was happening, like literally just I wanted anything to bring that atmosphere into the ending, whereas it just felt kind of forgotten instead.
She's like, oh yeah, and sharks.
Yeah.
That's me and my thing with oceanic horror vibes. I think it would have been more interesting if it had been more of like a cliff face where she was fascinated by a particular rock formation slightly out to sea, that the only way to see it is to stand close enough at the edge that it's threatening, because that would have been really sinister and it wouldn't have moved. So it would have made sense for her to have such a fascination with it and for it to be such a dangerous place, as opposed to just she's really into sharks and sharks aren't that bad, you know?
Yeah.
But even though they're dicks, I guess Vividiana still wants to be around them because they're outsiders and she thinks everyone outside is better versus her mum's shop, which she thinks is shit. Okay, I will say, to defend Vividiana on this, my mum had a wedding shop I was 11 years old when she opened it. I was expected to work for her shop from she had like a at-home business first. So I had been working with my mum since I was 9 years old. We had a very interesting conversation when I was 19, and I had to explain to her that no, I didn't want to inherit this wedding dress shop that I had spent my entire childhood at. I'm good. Like, I wanted to do my own thing. I certainly didn't want to open a wedding dress shop. So I can completely understand this. You've made me work here my whole life. Please let me do something else. It's not even necessarily that the shop is shit. It's just not what she wants. And because it's very specifically what her mum wants for her, all the more she needs to rebel against it, you know? Classic teenager. But yeah. Great, she knows. But yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else contextually that we haven't talked about. But I feel like this one, whilst insidious, was pretty superficial with its like kind of stuff going on. And again, that's probably because it's one of the first ones that Silvia Garcia ever wrote. Which is why, comparatively, Mexican Gothic is going to be really interesting as one of her more recent ones, and certainly her biggest success. Like, even her two most recent ones, because I haven't been able to get access to her super new one, which is why I haven't added it to the list yet. I don't think I added it to the list. Now that I've said that, I need to check, because I'm like,
it's not out yet, is it?
I think it is in the US. I don't think I added it to the list. It's definitely got reviews on Goodreads, I think.
Well,
Gothic
okay, Winnie, what are we doing here?
No, I didn't. So obviously this goes all the way up to June, with Signal to Noise being the last one. I can't believe we are officially halfway. How wild is that? So we've got Mexican Gothic in Feb, Certain Dark Things in March, The Beautiful Ones in April. That's probably going to be my favorite month. Velvet Was the Night, which I'm genuinely nervous about because I'm so convinced I'm not going to like that one.
Yeah, I tried to read it, and even just the beginning, I put it down so fast. I was like, I don't think I want this.
Well, Certain Dark Things I'm really nervous about because I've tried reading that so many times and I just can't get into it. So nervous about that one. But her newest one, let's have a look. Oh, good.
Oh, Winnie.
She's like, why?
I'm not even seeing her newest one. Yeah, I think it's like much later because it's not even like coming up on Goodreads for me.
Mine did, but it's not coming up now. Okay, I'm gonna go on Gardeners because it was definitely on Gardeners.
I remember I saw promotion for it on Instagram, but that's all I remember. Yeah, the 7th Veil of Salome comes out in July.
Oh, that's kind of perfect then.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Is it the same here, though? That's the question.
I'm not sure. This is just what it says on her Instagram, so.
16th of July for us. 16th of July. And the description sounds so intriguing. And it's more Hollywood. It's more films, because Silvia Garcia can't help herself.
She has made sure to say, though, in this post that this is not a speculative novel.
Mm-hmm.
So
apparently this is a sumptuous historic epic. Golden Age Hollywood, a city overflowing with gossip, scandal, and intrigue. Every actress wants to play Salome, the star-making role in a big-budget movie about legendary temptress. So when the film's mercurial director casts Vera Larios, an unknown Mexican ingenue, in the lead role, she quickly becomes the talk of the town. Vera has also become an object of envy for Nancy Hartley, a bit player whose career was stalled and who will do anything to win the fame she believes she richly deserves. As Vera navigates the glitz and glamour of her new city, Nancy follows silently behind, trying to take everything she believes Vera has unfairly landed. But in this tale of 3 women, it also has a story of Princess Salome herself. Consumed with the desire of a fiery prophet who foretells the doom of her stepfather, Salome is a woman torn between the decree of duty and the yearning of her heart. And tragedy waits in the wings for all 3 women. So potentially quite a dark romance. And potentially very little men in it at all, which would be quite nice. We shall see. We shall see. Okay, where do we get up to? Her mum is very salty. Her mum is very salty.
Yeah.
I think her mum is kind of devastated that she made these choices for herself and then regretted all of them. And now she can see her daughter making those same choices. So it's like, don't regret shit. She's like, well, gotta make my own mistakes. In spite of all my grumbles, I did enjoy it a lot. Yeah, me too. I did. Is Certain Dark Things the next one? I'm not sure that'll be for me, but I'm going to try it. So the next live show, actually, let's put this in my diary because otherwise I will forget. The next live show will be Mexican Gothic. So Mexican Gothic is going to be on the 12th of March. I'm just making sure I get that in my diary. And I'm going to make it 7:30 again because I apparently can't be trusted to be here on time if it's at 7. And then the book that we're reading for March is Certain Dark Things. So you will have a good couple of weeks to read Certain Dark Things before the live show. So a couple of weeks, it will be Mexican Gothic, and then it'll be Certain Dark Things. Yeah. Certain Dark Things is worth trying. I gave it 3 stars, but it has interesting things going on. Don't get me wrong. I think some of the mythology in it is really interesting, but the actual writing of it bored me. So I might do that one as an audiobook. Give her a chance. That's fair. Honestly, my favorite thing is she writes the posts on Goodreads because they're all about her. But yeah, the way she writes about her books is hilarious to me. Cool. So I don't think I've got anything else left to say about Untamed Shore. And I usually ask like what people's theories are for Mexican Gothic, but I feel like Mexican Gothic is the reason everyone joined this read along in the first place, because we were all like, this is it, this is our jam, this is what we're aiming for. So it's going to be really interesting to reread it and see if I still love it, because it got 5 stars from me last time.
I think I gave it like 4.5. 4. It wasn't quite a 5 for me. But I don't honestly remember why at this point.
That's fair. Okay. Well, I don't have anything else to add. Anything else you want to add? Does anyone have any questions? Anything that you feel like we didn't get to? Because we'll get to those now if you would like. Thanks, gang. And if you don't have any questions, we'll probably wrap up in a bit. Ali, what are you up to on your channel? What's happening? I see you've been twitching and stuff.
I haven't been doing shit lately, dude.
No, not lately, but you have been.
Yeah, I'm hoping I have a video.
Oh my goodness. Someone has something to say.
He likes yelling for fun.
A mood.
But I do have videos planned for March. I'm not putting anything up the rest of this month because I'm just trying to film stuff ahead of time so that maybe I can actually get a full month of videos out.
That'd be nice.
And then Tony wants me to stream on Twitch again, but I'm like, sir, how?
Sir, how?
So
Sir,
we'll see.
why? That's fair. That's fair.
But mostly I've been active on Instagram, honestly.
We'd love
because
to see
I don't have to, get up and do things. I can just
you can just be like, click, done.
Yep. I can be like, wow, I made this post on my tablet. Here it is.
Here it is. Made it. Made a thing. We'd love to see it. Well, I've got 2 videos coming up soon. But if you're on my Patreon, you get access to those early. So make sure that you go and check that out. I've got my complete owned TBR, and I have been tagged in something recently. So I need to edit those and they'll be up soon. But other than that, I'm back on Friday with another live show. This is such a joke. My week is so big. Like, my thought I at least was going to get tomorrow evening off. I'm not. I'm now going to a rehearsal for this play that I don't want to be part of, so that I can put my play on that I do want to be part of. So I'm rehearsing tomorrow. I'm doing the sound, so I'm not actually rehearsing, but I'm rehearsing tomorrow. I then have my pitch for my play on Thursday, which will hopefully go really well. And then I have the live show for the Lunar Book Club on Friday. I saw the beans. I saw the beans.
Just stretch it out in the background.
Just like little, beans. Loved it. Did you read any of the Lunar Book Club picks, Ali?
I don't remember last year.
That's fine.
Last year was the worst year of my life. I can tell you nothing about anything that I did, read.
That's fair.
So
That's fair. That's fair. I understand. Well, I will be talking about the books that I did finish and the ones that I didn't. I was really disappointed. Not really a spoiler, but spoiler. I was really disappointed with the picks that we had last year. I was really disappointed that none of them really hit the way I wanted them to. So, except for Camp Damascus, which I'm still reading and is wild.
I have this month.
Yes.
And I'm actually going to read them.
Yeah, I've already started the ones for this year. I'm not leaving it to the end of last year like I did this year and last year, because that's silly.
I think you need to do them in the live show to force yourself to read them. Do them in groups of 3 or something.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. Well, it's been lovely to have you, Ali. Thanks everyone for piping up with your comments. We love to see it, and I will see you in a couple of weeks for Mexican Gothic, or Friday for the Lunar Library. Other than that, have a lovely evening, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.